Hey friend, welcome back to the Holy and Hungry segment of the Vision Driven Health podcast. This midweek episode is a short health devotional for you where you can bring your hunger to the table and be filled with what God has for your health. Do you feel stuck in a vicious cycle of wanting to create healthy habits to increase your energy and strength, but feeling too tired and weak-willed to make it happen? Do you find yourself swinging between trying really hard to eat well, exercise, do all the things you know are healthy, and then giving up altogether? The all or nothing mentality is real, and it can make it so difficult to create progress, let alone a healthy lifestyle. Today, we are taking a cue from Paul in the New Testament. So let's hear how a commonly used Bible verse with context provides an insight many have missed. Do you find yourself struggling to consistently implement healthy habits? Do you lack energy, confidence, and motivation because of stress, overwhelm, and shame for having not gotten it together by now? Friend, there is hope and grace for your health. Hey, I'm Robin Ryan McDonald, host of the Vision Driven Health podcast. I'm a follower of Jesus, a wife, a mama of two, and a seminarian turned health coach. And I'm so excited that you're here. I found myself in my early 20s captive to cravings and convenience, 20 pounds heavier, super tired, with a face full of acne. I could not figure out how to maintain healthy habits until I discovered the power of aligning my choices with God's vision. 10 years and 2 kids later, by the grace of God, I'm still prioritizing my health and feeling amazing. If you are over quick fixes and are ready to feel good in your own skin, then grab a giant water bottle and let's dive on in. Two big factors make all the difference in creating a healthy lifestyle that lasts. One that doesn't leave you feeling ill-equipped at the end of it or on the path right back to where you started. And the first thing is partnering with God. This is the ultimate game changer for creating something that breaks the mold of every other diet or weight loss attempt you've made. Number 2 is having accountability. Most people run from accountability because, who likes to be held accountable? Particularly when it robs you of the excuses that you have that have kept you from moving forward. Because excuses make us feel better. There's so many aspects to accountability that are challenging and hard. You have to answer to somebody. You have to do the thing that's been so hard to do. And in the Healthy Weight Loss Academy, not only are you given the framework I've helped dozens of clients and students use to lose weight, learn how to eat for their body's specific needs, and create habits that last, you are also learning the most valuable thing. And like I said, that is how to partner with God in your health. And one of the biggest ways that we do that is through accountability in a supportive, loving, Jesus-following community. You can join the waitlist for the Healthy Weight Loss Academy by going to visiondrivenhealth.com/course. Enrollment is opening soon, and by joining the waitlist, you'll be the first to find out when enrollment is open so you can get first dibs on the limited spots that are available for this cohort. I hope to see you there. All right, so you're feeling super run down. You've gone through all the effort to try healthy habits in the past, and you're starting to feel even more tired. You can see the scale going up. You know your food choices just aren't what you want them to be. And yet, you're so tired you can't even imagine trying to put in the effort it takes to make changes. Every time you expect to have a free afternoon or evening to go for a walk or try and cook a healthy meal, something just seems to come up. Or you just straight up don't feel like doing it, and so you don't. Then you end up procrastinating by maybe you spend time on your phone or doing something around the house, or maybe your kids interrupt, maybe you get a phone call. There's just always something that seems to get in the way. Well, Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, contrary to how you might have heard this verse used in the past, I'm not saying this verse means even though you're tired because you have Jesus, you just do it anyways. You can do it. Just do it. Which I do genuinely believe that we can do anything through Christ. But there are key verses before this one that give insight into how we can transform a pattern of stress, tiredness, and lack of motivation into a training ground for depending on the Lord. If you aren't familiar with the person of Paul, it's important to note that this guy had truly gone through it all. He was first as he self-described, a Pharisee of all Pharisees, living, a comfortable life and also while persecuting Christians. But then he becomes radically transformed after encountering the risen Jesus and ends up being brutally beaten and imprisoned numerous times for the sake of Jesus and sharing his gospel. He also would go into temples, both Jewish and Gentile, and teach and reason with whomever he had an audience with. Now, this was not like how we see Sunday morning sermons where everybody's just sitting in their seats, listening intently to whatever the pastor's saying. This was likely, depending on which place he was in, but it was tense, it was stressful. There were a lot of people maybe arguing with him or even getting ready to beat him or ended up beating him as a result of it. And so my point here is that Paul really had been through a lot and also fully demonstrated that he was devoted to Christ and equipping his church. So here in Philippians 4, he's talking about his relationship with the church of Philippi, and the two verses prior to verse 13, which I had already read about, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It says, "Not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to be abased, and I know how to abound." Basically saying, I know how to be humble, and humble means to have nothing, and I know what it is to live in abundance. Everywhere and in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. So, and then immediately after that, he says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." So we're looking at this, and when he's talking about I can do all things, he's talking about I can handle all the variety of different things that are handed to me in life. I can handle having nothing. I can handle having abundance. I can handle, all these different things that have been thrown at me. And I can do it because of Christ. And I want to highlight a few words that are used a couple times here in these verses. And he says, I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how. And then he says, I have learned both to be, etc. So he's saying that there was a process of learning to where he got to this point. He learned, no matter how he was feeling or what persecution was plaguing him, to be content. He knew how to navigate whatever circumstance he was in. Now, I can't imagine that with those early imprisonments and beatings that Paul was just unfazed and just like, yep, totally got this. I can do this because I've got Jesus. I imagine it was a learning curve of seeking and depending on God to make it through. And so when we consider the verse, I can do all things through Christ, it's written in a context that it was as a result of learning through challenging times. Paul discovered that he can do all things through Christ. Like I said, it was a learning process. So you might find yourself feeling like there's no way that you can create healthy habits that last. You might feel like your old patterns are going to totally win out like they always do. You won't be able to be consistent. You just feel like you know yourself. You get tired. You give up. But my encouragement for you today is to consider taking on the learning process of discovering what's possible when you depend on Jesus and take hold of his strength. It might not be an instantaneous thing where all of a sudden it's just easy and simple to get up and go to the gym. It's no problem to just figure out which foods you need to eat that are going to help you lose weight and to cook new recipes and be consistent and meal prep. All of that takes time, trial and error, and learning how to take hold of God's strength. It's about learning how to find your strength in Christ by continuing to try and do those things more than it is about learning to do those things in and of themselves. I think that's what we end up focusing on is we focus so much on the habits and I got to figure out how to work out. I got to figure out the right recipes. I got to figure out the right amounts of food. I got to do all these things, which yes, those are very important things. It's what I coach my clients on. However, I'm sure you've had experience in the past where you have done those things and they didn't last because we need to find the strength to do what we learn to do in the habits from Christ. Jesus is your forever source. Figuring out how to meal prep is not. We must learn to find our strength in Him. And that is a process. This is the unconventional secret to increasing your energy and strength. You have to learn to find strength in God. And that strength is often the strength to continue to do even just one little thing in the right direction for your healthy habits. That might be to have the strength to maybe you don't feel like cooking, but you're going to go out to eat. But when you go out to eat, you're going to make some healthier choices. Maybe you're not up to going to the gym or figuring out how to do resistance training, but you're like, you know what? I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk every day. Or I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk 3 times a week. You have to start to see how God can give you strength for those things. And in depending on Him, leaning on Him, growing in your ability to receive strength from Him, you are going to inevitably increase your capacity and ability to make those healthy habits, which then in turn, by making those healthy habits consistently, will begin to translate in how your body feels and increase your energy and increase your strength. Learning to find strength in God, not yourself, not your own willpower, not your past. It's now in this moment learning to include God, pray to God, hear from God, receive strength from God, and really to be and do what God has called you to do, including care for your body. Give yourself grace and don't give up. Remember that God is with you and He is for you. I'll talk to you next time, friends. Thank you so much for listening to the Vision Driven Health Podcast today. I hope this episode inspired you, supported you, and blessed you in some way. If it did, it would mean the world if you would leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts and share this episode on your social media. The more reviews and shares this gets, the more people can be blessed and encouraged in creating a Jesus-centered, sustainable, healthy lifestyle. If you want to hang with me and other Jesus-loving ladies who are creating healthy habits that last, be sure to join my free Facebook group, the Made Well Mastermind. Use the link in the show notes to join. Be blessed with hope, joy, and health. I'll see you next week.